Okay, so welcome to Beers with Brownie. We are an International Rugby League YouTube series where we interview some of the game's legends and we talk about their careers and also talk a bit about International Rugby League. So if you're new to the channel, for every 100 subscribers, we send out 10 balls to developing International Rugby League nations across the world to help with their development. So 100 subscribers, it was 10 balls to Vanuatu, 200 was 10 balls to Ghana, 300 was 10 balls to Cameroon. We're nearly at the 400 mark, so 10 balls will go to the Solomon Islands, and for 500 we've got 10 balls going to Greece. So guys, if you can, please drop a like and subscribe to this channel to help us grow the game around the world. So guys, just a quick update on the balls. We ordered the custom-made Chasing Rouge balls from the Steeden factory in India. We ordered them in March, and due to COVID-19, the factory's had a few times where it's had to shut down due to staff having to isolate. We've been told the balls are finally en route, so when we start dispatching the balls out, we will upload videos to show you how the balls are being put to good use. So don't worry guys, they will be on their way very soon. Okay, and if we can get to 10,000 subscribers, I know that's quite a long way off, but you never know. If we can monetize this YouTube channel, we will put all the money that we make into developing International Rugby League around the world. So we want to fund a domestic competition in the Solomon Islands. So what that would mean would be helping them out with resource, helping them out with coach education and so forth. So whatever money we can make from this channel, we're going to be putting it back into the game. So guys, please subscribe if you can. So for this episode guys, I'd like to introduce our guest, fantastic guest today. And I'm going to embarrass him a little bit because if you've never met him in person, he's the most humblest, nicest guy that you'll ever meet. The one and only Nathan Blacklock. So welcome to the show, Nate.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Nathan and I, we met in the mid-2000s, and you were very kind enough to invite me over to your place, and we went pig hunting. And I'll never forget that experience. It was, once in a lifetime. I've never done it again, but it was awesome. And we've also crossed paths when I was working at OzTag and on the International Tag Federation. So we've crossed paths a number of times, and you've always been an absolute gentleman, and I value you as a friend. So thanks again for coming on the show today.
My pleasure, mate. My pleasure anytime. I'm glad you got the experience of chasing pigs. Yeah, I don't do that anymore, which is good. So. But there are things to do in the bush, so yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, buddy.
So as you know, if you're a regular watcher, every episode we like to support a beer that supports rugby league. So for this episode, we've got Immortal Pale Ale, which is every beer purchased of Immortal Pale Ale goes to support the Glebe Dirty Reds, which is a foundation club. So guys, if you can, get out and get an Immortal Pale Ale. So cheers, Macca.
Cheers.
So also in every episode, guys, I like to support International Rugby League by wearing some merchandise. So today I've got my Lay Snacks Tigers polo shirt. So the Lay Snacks Tigers are the club that Justin Oldham came through the pathways into the Hunters and then into the Melbourne Storm. So I've got my Lay Snacks Tigers shirt. They're also the 2021 Digicel Cup winners over in Papua New Guinea. So well done to the Lay. And I've also got my Cleveland Rugby League hat. So a big shout out to Monty Gaddis and all the guys over in Cleveland in the US. You're doing amazing things on and off the field. So keep up the good work, guys. Okay, so Nathan, first question. How did you become to love rugby league, and which team did you support as a kid?
I got three older brothers. I was lucky enough with my mum and dad. They did a lot for young kids in the community, kept them out of, back then they called the boys' homes. So they'd bring them in the family, and they'd look after them as young kids. They all loved rugby league. My older brothers played rugby league. I remember, skipping Sunday school to go and watch my brothers play on a Sunday, and I was always a ball boy or a sand boy them days. He had sand boys.
Awesome.
He nowadays got tees, so back then we had to carry buckets of sand. Mate, they played for the mighty Tinga Tigers, and back then, and they still are my favourite rugby league team.
Oh, awesome. So Beers with Brownie fan Terence has asked me to ask you, did you have a favourite player growing up?
I had a few, but I had one favourite player. His name was, they called him Peppy. His name was Tyrone Connors, and he played A grade, and he was the fastest person I've ever seen run. Like, he'd always, last minute of the game, they give him the ball and he'd score the winning try.
So he'd always have the X factor.
Always had the X factor. Always. He was unpredictable in everything he'd done. And things I saw him, as I got older, the things I saw him do on the footy field, and create the opportunities he created. You just sit there and think people train for these things professionally when it just happens naturally for him. Yeah. And always grew up. I wanted to be just like him.
Oh, awesome. So, was there anyone in the New South Wales Premiership at the time that you looked up to as a kid?
Oh yeah, guys like Cliffy Lyons. Love watching him play. Again, just his vision to read another player. As you know, you watch rugby league. Players have habits, and no matter how much you coach them out of that habit, they'll always come back into their mindset. And he knew how to hit a ball short. He knew how to read the play. He knew that he can get that person to get back to his old habits and create opportunity, for the ball runs or for himself.
Well, as you know, Nath, Cliffy's still involved playing OzTag. He's playing in the over 50s, I think. And as a kid from Manly myself, I idolised Cliffy growing up, and he was my favourite player. And he ended up, when he left the NRL, he ended up playing in the local A-grade comp, and I got to play a season with him, and just an unbelievable player. And I don't know how he did it, but he used to smoke at half time, and he was just a natural.
I've got to hand to Cliffy now. I do a lot of work with him with the guys from Deadly Choices now, with Deadly Blues. So I work along with Cliff, which I'm proud to say now. He has, he doesn't smoke anymore. He's been non-smoker now for a long time. So, awesome. Cliff, mate, you don't know how proud we are of you, and I am of you, mate. You're a legend, not just on the field but off the field. But for doing that, to break that habit is an absolute amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
So
Nathan, you were born in the tiny town of Tinga with a population just over 800. So what was it like growing up in a small town like that?
It was good. Mate, we'd get up, have brekkie, and Mum would never see us. We'd be out playing all day, swimming in summer. Winter, we'd be chasing rabbits, we'd be out doing things all the time and come home. Always be able to be home for the street lights. Small town, you had a lot of people looking after you, so no matter where you were, if you're down the street and lunchtime come, you're hungry, you go to your aunt or your uncle's and you have something to eat and you go off and play again. But back then, the community kept us, out of trouble. Mm. So if we ever, got out of hand, we'd get in trouble by, community members back then, because that's how it was back then. That's how we were raised. We did the wrong thing. We got punished by the community, and my parents are okay with that, because that's how you grow as a kid. So that's what I love about coming from a small town and appreciating everything that you have. Growing up, I appreciate everything I have now, and I look at a lot of things materialistic as just materials. They can be replaced, but friendships, I'm old school like that. You shake a hand, we do a deal. That's a friendship.
And I think so touching on your career, so 1995 you're recruited to the Sydney Roosters, and you end up playing 5 first grade games. So how did that all come about?
I got to Sydney. I played with Inverell Hawks. I had the absolute pleasure of having Les Cleal coach me. So I played my first couple of years, first year at grade league with Tinker Tigers Reserve grade, and throughout the season I was approached by a guy by the name of, they called him Larry, but Leighton Blair. He played for Inverell, and he was doing the coach with the juniors, and we played a school carnival one day, and we won. I played soccer and league, and anyway, we won the carnival at Inverell, and then what happened was Leighton and Les come and approached me and said, you play for Tinker, why don't you play on Sundays? I said, I can't, I've got to go to church on Sundays. So Mum and Dad had me to church, and in church I played the drums, so I couldn't do anything on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And then they said, I'll have you only Mum and Dad, and see if it's okay for you to come and play. Then from then, went to play for Inverell Hawks. That was really good. They were a great team back then.
So Les Clear was the coach?
For the juniors, and Noel was a grade coach. So
Les is, for those that don't know, bush footy legend from Warialda.
Yeah, Noel Clear's brother. So him, them two guys are coaching over home, and from there, mate, that season Les hooked me up with the Roosters because he played for the Roosters, and mate, they took his word. I went down that season. Me and another guy, Peter Ellis. We went down so I went straight from high school down to play rugby league. When I got down there, I noticed I was a bit behind a lot of things. So in the gym I was light. So I've made a promise to myself. I'm down here to play rugby league because you go from the bush to the city, there are a lot of distractions. A lot, and they bring a lot of young footballers unstuck.
Yeah.
But I made a promise to myself, and at the time my dad said, "You're going to play rugby league. You're there to chase your dream. Don't let any distractions come in between that." So I'd turn up to training early. I'd be the last one to leave. I'd be there always working on my weaknesses in the game and maintaining my strengths. And then, it paid off in the under 19s. It paid off, and I was rewarded by being in the full-time squad my first year there, and rewarded with a first grade game that Mum and Dad come to watch at that time, and they had no idea I was playing first grade that day. Because back then you played under 21s reserve grade, then A grade, so you sat on the bench back then. And
I remember Matty Johns tells a story where he played all three grades in the one day.
Yeah, that was me. Played all three grades in the one game, and
wow.
Was rewarded with a game and scored to try my first game. So I guess all of that hard work paid off, and from that was advice from my dad.
So Nath, 1997 you signed with the St George Dragons. You later became a club legend, as we all know. So what made you switch from the Roosters to the Dragons?
I guess they had, Roosters had their, they had Jack Elsgood, they had, other players in front of me, and Ricky Walford was leaving, and they needed someone to replace him, and manager at that time, out of Yandu, Max Ninnis and Dave Waite, and they got me over there. Mate, I never looked back. I learned a lot of rugby league from them guys.
So Nathan, in the 1998 season, you end up scoring 20 tries from 22 games. Unbelievable. You become the second highest try scorer in the competition, only behind Darren Smith at the Broncos. So tell us about this breakout season in 1998.
Dave Waite was really good because he let me play my game. As people don't really know this, but before I went to Sydney, I played 5'8", so I played in the halves.
Right. So all your juniors, you're a half.
Yeah, in the half 5'8". And my opportunity to play first grade was on the wing. Never played wing. I said, I don't care. I just want to play first grade. I think it took me 3 days to learn how to play wing.
Wow.
And then, just went out, and I was lucky with having Mark Coyne as my centre. I learned. He was such a blessing to me. He taught me a lot and spoke to me a lot during the games, and he just said to me, "Mate, go in there and do something." So giving them support, always, when you read a game, you always read a game 2 or 3 plays ahead, and I did that when I was playing on the wings. Had so much time while waiting out there to get the ball, you can see what's going to happen and unfold. So I made sure that I was in there, and sometimes I went off my wing, and Corny's blowing up at me. "What are you doing? Get back here!" Then we score a try, and he goes, "Don't ever do that again." Anyway, I go and do the same thing again. So don't ever do it. And then you go like, and what I don't do is like, "Mate, get in there and go and do something." So, those things. So I let my natural reaction to what was happening take over, and I just played. And I guess Dave Waite saw that, and Max Ninnis, and that's what they loved about probably the way I played. I just played off instinct. I played off, I wasn't there waiting. I just played what I saw and reacted to what I saw. And to do that, you just had the natural ability to have that speed where, as a kid, I didn't say anything, but I didn't tell you earlier, but I used to sprint up sand hills all the time with my dad's work boots on because that built strength in my legs. And, used to bound up sand hills all the time to build me faster than fibres up so I can get quicker and quicker. So early morning runs, late afternoon, it sort of paid off. Down there, I didn't stop that at all. I just did more and more of it, and which allowed me to have that speed and, off the mark to react to whatever's going on, so I wasn't left behind all the time and too late. So, always thinking ahead of what is possible, and creating those opportunities while they're there. Well, sometimes we react a little bit too late. So I had to make sure I was always, up there when it happened. So I didn't miss out on it.
So all the youngsters watching, you heard that from Nathan. So to increase his fast twitch muscle fibres, some good training tips there. So Marco, season 99, 2000, 2001, you were the competition's leading try scorer, and you were the first player in Australian Rugby League history to score more than 20 tries in 4 consecutive seasons. So talk us through that amazing run, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002.
Oh, mate, we merged with, I think after 98, 99, we merged with Illawarra. And from there, just opportunities with the players about, you had Mark Corn, you had Paul McGregor, guys like that could create opportunity. And they were old school footballers. And mate, they just like to pass the ball around. And being outside Jamie Ainscough all the time, he created so much opportunity. When Mark Coyne retired, Ainsy was brought, put on my side, and mate, we had the best time out there. And again, they'd swap me from fullback to wing, so I'd go from fullback to wing, or we'd swap over every now and again. And my goal was to have 40 to 50 supports a half. Up, reload. So I had to come off one day with 120 something supports.
Wow.
Just like a sheepdog rattling up sheep, just running around everywhere just to be a part of the game, and realising that when you're at fullback, you're that extra person that creates that opportunity in the middle. You're that extra person, that extra number. If you're outside, if you don't do anything if you're sitting back waiting for the next play, you're creating nothing. So for a play to happen, I had to push up every play I got, and then reload, and then which created an opportunity over here, but always push up the middle, like Terry Lamb said. Whenever you pass the ball wide, just push up the middle, the ball come back to you, and in my case it did, so yeah.
So Beers with Brownie fan Guy, all the way from Adelaide, he's asked me to ask you, so your post-try celebrations where you did the backflip, when did you start doing that, and what made you start doing the backflip? It was certainly a fan favourite, that's for sure.
We played Canberra, and I think we put a number on them that day, and I seen Chock do he scored and did a front flip. I was like, oh man, wow, right, yeah. So next time, if I score again, I'm going to do a backflip. And then, to my surprise, I found myself with the ball in the clear and scored a try, and just put the ball down, didn't think too much of it. I did a backflip, and the crowd loved it. And
so then it started.
And then since then, we got more people coming to games. I remember meeting people that supported the teams, but just wanted to come watch our games because they loved the way we played. I loved playing the game. It wasn't structured. I played the game. We forget rugby league is a game, and we play it because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
And those years of success and playing well was all because I loved the game, and I didn't let any outside distractions distract me, and I used to live the play back then. I lived to play the game, and I loved it.
Well, Nathan, I've got 3 close mates, all Dragons fans, and I asked them who their favourite Dragons player was, and they all said you. So the way you played the game was amazing, and the fans, they loved watching you play. I know as a Manly fan, I loved watching you play, and I'm not a Dragons fan, but I'd tune in every game just to see you guys, work your magic. So it's fantastic. So Nathan, 1999, talk us about that try in the NRL Grand Final, packed Stadium Australia. They put the chip, Melbourne Storm put the chip over the top. Oh, just talk us through that. What were you thinking?
Mate, leading up to the games, for some reason, I just under the high ball, I just panicked. Under the high ball, and against the Roosters I did it, and against Cronulla. Anyway, Dave Wade came and said to me, look, forget about that game. You're gonna start. I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yeah. Anyway, I remember talking to the boys and saying, look, lads, we all sat down in the group and said, boys, look, I know the last couple of games I probably let you guys down and panicked and that. But I said, I promise you, no matter what happens, if there's a cold out there floating around, I promise you I'll catch it. I promise. And lead up to that, I went back to fullback, and the kick came, and my reaction was just get to the ball. You're going to get smashed, but get to the ball first, and then take what's going to come, take what's coming to you. As soon as I seen the chip, the ball bounced in my favour, and I just watched the ball bounce, and it bounced up into my arms. Sometimes you can watch it bounce, you actually see it going to bounce up, and like everything, it was just there anyway. I saw it, I got it. I just sort of put my head down and said, "Oh, I'm going to get smashed here." Anyway, I just got the ball, and it looked like Brownie ran off one player this side. I think Trent ran the other player off, so we created an opportunity. I just went straight through and looked up, and said, "Oh shit, I'm in the clear." And I just kept running, and then put the ball down. So, making a promise to the boys, I wasn't smiling because I scored the try. I was smiling because I made a promise to the boys that I was going to attack the ball, and no matter what, I'm going to put my body on the line and for the team, and that's what I've done. So,
I just remember that when that game was on, I was a young 18-year-old, just playing a bit of park footy, and I thought that was one of the best tries I'd ever seen. It was fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man.
So Nathan, in 2001, after the back of a fantastic season, you get picked for the Australian Kangaroos on the Kangaroo Tour. You end up playing against Papua New Guinea, and you score 2 tries in the 54-12 victory. And you end up playing for the Kangaroos against Great Britain in the 3rd Test at Wigan. So, making your international debut, tell us about that experience.
It was, how do you put it? When we played against Papua New Guinea, from my dad's advice, get me into the rugby league, follow my dreams. He got to saw me play my first game representing my country. And then, unfortunately, between the time, I think that was when the terrorist attacks were over in...
Oh, the September 11, yeah.
So travel wasn't, travel to other countries was sort of put back. So between that time, I lost my old man, so he got to see me play, for Australia and that. And going over the Kangaroos tour, because I sort of spent more time at home preparing for Dad's funeral. I was, always on the bench. So, but leading up over this couple of weeks, I just trained every day. Worked hard every day. And remember, Jay Stephen goes to me, "Man, like the game's gonna be over. Like, just chill, man. Like, why are you training so hard for?" And I said, "Man, there's probably 0.1% that I'll play a game over here at all." I said, "There's still 1% of what opportunity for me to play to represent my country." And I think after the second game, Lottie hurt his knee and was ruled out for the second one. And that's when Chris Anderson came up and said, "Mate, Lottie's out, you're in." I rung my family.
Special moment.
Yeah, very special moment. Cried in the motel room and said, "Man, a kid coming from a town of 800 people, followed my dream, worked hard, I'll get to represent my family." So yeah.
So
not only that, I guess, not only me, but representing every young kid out there in the bush that grew up like I did, that
show them it is possible to...
It is possible, yeah. And that's what I carried on. Like, I'm not only there for Australia, I'm actually there for everybody in that country over there, the kids out bush, not just my family, but everybody else out there. The dreams do come true if you work hard for them.
Absolutely. So, Nathan, you had a wonderful NRL career. Is there a season that stands out for you?
Probably in 99 was probably the best. I think it was the last time I got to work with Dave Waite, but I learned a lot from him, and that's probably the best season I had.
So Nathan, in 2005, you end up signing for Hull FC, and you spent 2 seasons in the Super League scoring 35 tries. So tell us about what it was like playing over in the Super League.
It was good. It was real good. Yeah, guys, I was lucky enough to play with like Steve Kearney, Richie Swain, and a few other guys, Sid Domick, other guys over there. It was when I thought I'll go over there. I wouldn't mind spending a couple of years, but I loved being over there. They were amazing, man. Like they looked after me big time. Like they were so good, and the level of rugby league was a lot better than I thought. And these guys over there, the crowds are amazing. Yeah. I love watching soccer, and an opportunity to go and watch a few soccer games, and I loved it. To the point, like I told them, I'd love to come back over and help develop, be a part of the coaching staff, because they really looked after me. Love playing with the guys. Being away from home made me realise how much I loved home.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of me 2 years, that's when I lost, when I told you earlier, I lived to play the game.
Mm.
But when I got over there, I started to play the game to live. I didn't, it was an issue for me. I didn't want to turn up the training. I was like, it was like a job to me. Mm. And guys are over, just stick through it, go through it. But I couldn't do it to the club because it's not fair on the club, not fair on supporters, and not fair on, anyone at all. My players at all, if I don't give 100%. If I'm playing it for a job. And I said, look, guys, I'll be honest with you, I don't have the desire to play anymore. So it's not fair on the club, not fair on anyone over here. And, I'll see the season out, but I just want to go home at the end of the season. And they agreed with that. They were fine with that because I was so open and honest with them. They were fine with that. But I won a Challenge Cup with them, and it was amazing. Didn't realise they had 2 comps there, the Super League and the Challenge Cup. Yeah. A great idea, but rugby league's pretty strong over there, a lot stronger than people think. Yeah. The Challenge Cup, mate, there's no one left in Hull, especially on the FC side of things, like over the bridge, But, man, it just no one watched it on telly that I said. Everyone drove, we went to the game in Cardiff, down to Wales, and all I seen was a sea of black and white. I said, man, where are the other guys? But yeah, they all turned up. But watching them in the crowd and winning it in front of that many people, we couldn't talk to each other. If you're West End here and we were standing 3 or 4 metres away, you couldn't hear me.
Wow.
So we had Marcel, you're talking by hand signals and you're like, what? And you're just saying, we had to do hand signals to show what we were doing. But yeah, I couldn't hear the fullback saying drop back. I had to keep looking back, play 4. Wow. Just saying come back. I had guys I forgot to mention Motu Tony. He was over there playing, and you had just the atmosphere about it was so. It was like a roar that you could feel. Some people can hear it. Yeah. Out there, man, you can just feel it. And mate, to be on the biggest stage, coming from a town of 800 people, playing in front of.
80,000 at Wembley.
80,000, down there, and then I got to play in front of 110,000 in Sydney. Wow. And you just realise, this ain't the bush anymore. You might have, a couple of hundred on the side singing out, and a few horns blowing, but no, not like this. And it just put a chill up my spine, and mate, it made me realise how much I love the game. And then, you sort of know within yourself when you're done. Like I said, I knew I was done when I started to play the game to live, and that's why I walked away from it.
Well, Mackie, you made some great points. I spent 10 years over in the UK. First year was 2009, and in that time I think I went to 9 Challenge Cup finals at Wembley because I lived in London. Yeah. And the atmosphere, for those that have never been, you've got to put it on your bucket list. I mean, just I went to Wigan Hull, and the singing. I remember going when Nathan Brown was coaching Huddersfield. Huddersfield made the Challenge Cup final, and pretty much all of Huddersfield came. There was bus after bus load that came to Wembley, and Castleford's only a little town, but I think Castleford only has 70,000 people, for example, and half the town had come down, and it's unbelievable. But you also touched on living abroad's a great experience, but when you said it made you appreciate home, that resonated with me. I was exactly the same.
Oh yeah, bro. You don't realise how lucky we have it in this country. You don't realise how beautiful this country is when you're away. I absolutely love it.
Well, I remember in the UK, which I was going to ask you about as well, how you handled the cold. But from November to February, I remember there was a time where I didn't see much sunlight for about 6 weeks. I probably saw 3 days of sunlight. And then when I moved back to Australia, every day was just, I hardly saw a cloud in the sky, and I just felt so grateful. Not knocking, England at all. I loved my time there, but the weather can be hard for some players going over there. How did you find that?
Oh, I loved it. I love the snow. I just went outside when I had to. I love dressing up, layers and layers. I loved it. I quite enjoyed it. I loved exploring, going for drives, and I sat there all day, mate. they've got the best foxhole over there, Sky Sports. They've got the best.
Oh, all the great sports on.
Mate, but they're up to date. They're up to date in clothing. They're up to date in music. They're ahead of us in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it. Like I love my shoes and caps. So I come home with a crate full of my Jordans and whatever else I wore over there. They're still sitting in that. I've got probably a whole room with just shoes in them. And mate, that's. But over there, I just love everything about the place. You go to go have a beer, rightio, and next thing you know, the place is packed. And then all of a sudden, it's like that. You're like, where'd everyone go? Is it closing time? Then you go to the next part. So the same guy, they're like a pub crawl. They go pub to pub to pub. You're like, I thought just staying at one pub was enough, but they go every pub. Like it's amazing how their tradition and cultures. I love the old. The cobblestone roads and all that kind of stuff. I loved it. I loved exploring that kind of stuff.
Oh, awesome. So Nathan, in end of 2006, you were medically retired at Hull FC. Your coach at the time, Peter Sharp, said that you've had such a wonderful career. You've achieved things in rugby league that people can only dream of. So can you tell us what was the highlight of your career and what was the low light?
Highlight was my dad watching me play my first grade game. The low light was walking away from a team, I'd say walking away from a family, ending my career, at a place where I could have just started my career again. And just making a decision to say, it becoming a job to me. Of course, it could have really set me up for the rest of my life. But, in the long run, injuries would have plagued me, but that's probably my low light.
So over your career, you would have been coached by some of the greatest coaches to ever coach the game. Is there a coach that stands out as your favourite?
Oh, David Waite. David Waite. He broke the game down so well that it put my mindset in the way, breaking things down, like I spoke to you about earlier, about people have that, we all have certain, assets and liabilities or, positives and negatives, and we all get into our set ways. And he made me read that, especially playing, he made me play 3 or 4 steps ahead, and you can predict what's going to happen with people. So people are so predictable when it comes to rugby league. You can coach them. Being coached structurally is so predictable.
Yeah.
It's
you become a bit robotic.
You become robotic. You can predict everything they're going to do, and he taught me how to be unpredictable and how to beat that. And for that, mate, I'll cherish, because that could help me in my next path of coaching. So that's what my next path is. So
Nathan, was there a teammate that stood out for you where you thought, geez, I'm glad he's on our team and not theirs?
Oh, mate, there's a couple of them like that. You had mate one, Anthony Mundine, mate Chock.
Legend.
Me and him, we just clicked just like that. Just like brothers. He was always competitive, me and him, and Jamie Ansco. Mate, he doesn't get many raps, but he was
a great player.
The stuff he done was, again, he's a great player. Him and also Mark Coyne, he off the field he taught me a lot. Him and Nathan Brown really taught me a lot about the distractions and the attention I'm getting, how we could basically all that unstuck, and told me to keep my eyes on the prize. And you got guys that want to be a part of your life, and then you get attention from everybody, and just staying true to your values. And I was lucky to have my family over there, and that's what kept me focused.
Awesome. So speaking of Chock Mundine, Macca, so Beers with Brownie fan Macca from Twitter, he's asked me to ask you, so in a sprint race between you and Chock Mundine, who's quicker?
Oh, got him easy. I've got him. He'll tell you he's got me, but I've got him. I let him win a few times.
So we spoke about players that you love to play with. Was there a player that who was the most fiercest opponent that you had to mark?
Matty Bowen. Mate, he just couldn't. Again, footwork, unpredictability. He can make you just move around about you even moving. Just
Yeah.
his footwork, you know, he played the way I love to play. And I love watching his highlights. I'd always watch his highlights. I still to this day watch his highlights. Mate, people talk about JT. Yeah, Great T's a good player, absolutely. You know, he's done great for the thing.
Yeah.
But the man, my man is Matty Bowen. He's my man. Like his ability to play the game, and he's a pretty humble guy. He'll stay and that's what I love about him. He's a bit like myself. We don't get into the media, and you know, we just love to do what we do, go home, and you know, worry about next week. We don't sort of live on that. And mate, Matty's a bit like myself. He's humble and just goes about himself. You know, Matty sings every day, and that's what I like about him.
Well, Macca, when Matty was playing for Wigan, I got to meet him after a game. Just a lovely bloke, and so I spent 12 years working for OzTag. I was on the International Tag Federation, and I was asked, "Is there a rugby league player who you think would play OzTag and just absolutely excel?" And I said, "It's got to be Matty Bowen. Like he scores tries without being touched. So he would be a player that if he wanted to play OzTag, he'd play for Australia."
Oh, he'd kill it. Yeah, he'd absolutely kill it. Yeah.
So Nathan, when you retired after the 2006 season, what did you get up to in retirement?
Well, I come back home. My town, Tinker Tigers, had no team at the time. Rugby league sort of died a bit, so I made a promise to come back, move back home, and get my Tinker Tigers up and running. I spent 2 years there with the guys, got up and running, and then went and down to Aberdeen. Helped coach and played a bit down there, and coached Musselbrook. And after that, I got up to Mackay, and then come back, and I said, "Mate, enough for league. I just want to sit back and chill." And you got to know, when you retire, people, you know, are drawn to you and they want your help, but some push the line of taking advantage of your goodwill.
Yeah.
And I found that out pretty early, and so I just sort of went back into like a bit of a shell and just stayed there. And you know, I always wanted to have a property on a farm and have a job where I get an email message, "Oh, listen, can you be here?" And flights are taken care of. You know, a job that I love to turn up. You know, that I love, not work. So
Yeah.
I got the opportunity to do that. So which is great. That's why I'm here.
So Nathan, you're a proud Indigenous man, and the Indigenous All-Stars concept was introduced in 2010 after you'd finished playing. What are your thoughts on the concept?
I reckon it's a great idea. I thought, you know, the pathway that they've got there would have been great. You got the A grade, but below that you got the women's. But there's no under 16s or under 18s playing beforehand.
Yeah.
When I think they changed it to touch footy.
Right.
It's sort of disappointing because if you had an under 16s, then you had the women's, and then there's a pathway for these young boys to be proud of. You know, these young kids come from very small towns, and you know, as you know, they live in areas where people don't want to drive in. These young boys grew up in them areas, but their way out is rugby league. And you know, having that concept back would have been perfect for that. But the concept is great. It actually gets all these guys out there playing for where they come from.
Yep.
You know, their nation. You know, whereas Torres Strait, or you know, Torres Strait Islands, or you know, out the central areas, or you know, coastal areas, or you know, the inland, you know, the freshwater areas. So they all got to represent, you know, where they're from, their little communities, and also their people, and it brings everyone together because it's like a modern day corroboree. Everyone comes together as one, and you get to meet friends and family and people you've never seen or you've never met before, but you do exchange cultures and put on a bit of a show against the All-Stars and you know, bring everyone together. You know, not just Aboriginal but non-Aboriginal people as well, and the Māoris as well. You know, same difference. You know, same cultures but just different countries.
Yeah.
And having them play against each other is, you know, great to see them two cultures coming together, but also, you know, at war on the field, but you know what, in the crowd, all one family.
Coming together.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's great concept.
So Nathan, in rugby union, they've got the Maori All Blacks that tour around the world. They play Canada and they play Georgia and so forth. And I always thought in rugby league, because in my opinion, Indigenous players are some of the most exciting players to watch. They just got such natural talent and flair. And I'd love to see the Indigenous All-Stars being used as a touring team. What are your thoughts on that idea?
That'd be a great idea. It would be a great idea. It's probably, I must admit, union is set up really well. Union is set up really, really good around the world. Getting into that market with rugby league takes time, but I'd say getting the right people behind there that are there for the game, not for themselves, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So I reckon it's a great idea and a concept that could be done.
So just going back to rugby union, when I look at rugby union and I see that it's in the Olympics and they have a thriving international scene, it makes me realise that rugby league is a fantastic product and there's no reason why rugby league can't reach the same heights. Are you a fan of international rugby league?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it expand everywhere. Like they got it in Brazil now. They got it over in Malaysia. They got, as Papua New Guinea. It's expanding big time in America. Big time in America. Americans love it now.
Well, when the Toronto Wolfpack came to fruition, I was living in London and I managed to make 3 trips to Toronto, and just sitting in the stands with Canadians that had never seen the sport, they were just in awe of how fast and how ferocious it was, and they absolutely loved it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just, we just need. In my opinion, I think international rugby league is the best way to grow our sport and bring new fans into the game, and we don't prioritise it enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we get caught up in trying to better the game here in Australia because we're too worried about social media. We are controlled by social media, and people are trying to control the game to suit them and to suit fans. But take your mind off here and expand it wider. They say you got to look after your own backyard before you go looking after the backyard of others. But I mean, that's a great idea. Stop playing with the game here. Rugby union is just official, stayed like that the whole year through. It never changed anything. Well, it has brought new sides in and franchises in and looked after them.
Yep.
League can do the same thing. So it'd work if they really wanted it to work.
Well, when you hear the argument, because we're talking about the 17th NRL franchise, and you hear players, ex-players and commentators say, where's the talent coming from? There's another 100 Justin Olams in Papua New Guinea. There's another 100 Vunivalus in Fiji. There's so much talent out there. The world's a big world, and we sort of just focus in our fishbowl here. So we have to broaden our horizons, I think.
Getting all of us in New South Wales Cup come from the country to be in a New South Wales Cup. I reckon it'd be a great idea. It'd be a great pathway for all these young kids to go out to play into the NRL. But establishing a New South Wales Cup, in the country would be perfect for rugby league. Like they got it in suburbs of Sydney.
Yeah.
But they don't have it in the area. They expect these young kids to go down and play, which happens, they do. But they stock up their local rugby league comps with these good players, so it gets stronger. But out here it's getting weaker.
Yeah.
So and like everything, like picture a big tree, like a beautiful big flower, mate. It looks big, absolutely looks pretty, but where does all the hard work come from? It comes from the grassroots, it comes from the roots.
Absolutely.
From the areas like the country. These are the grassroots of rugby league.
Yep.
They're the ones that bring all that nutrition, all that source back up to make that flower grow.
100%.
They've got to put that back into rugby league. They've got to put that back into these areas where, they do all that dirty work, where all these talents come from, where all the nutrients come from. They're the ones that dig down in the ground to find the water supply for the need. These rugby league, needs to be out in these areas.
So Nathan, when we last caught up in January at the start of the year, you mentioned that you're coaching a local under-18 side. Mm-hmm. So how's the coaching been? Are you enjoying it? And do you have aspirations to coach at an NRL club one day?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I love it. Now I'm out with the Cootie Roosters. I've got an under-18 side, mate. I've got a great bunch of blokes. Mate, I love them because, mate, they turn up to work every day. They're old school. They turn up to work every day. They'll come when they can to training over night time, play the game, get up and go to work the next day. But they do it for the love of it. They do it because they enjoy it. And that's what I love about these young boys. You know, some are bricklayers, some are butchers, you know, some are still at school, some are studying, some are carpenters, scaffies, they lay carpet, but they turn up, play rugby league because they play rugby league because they love it.
Yeah.
And that, at that age, you've got to encourage, you've got to nurture, and you've just got to. I don't really teach them much. I just teach them about themselves. I teach them about looking after themselves. Having confidence in what they do. Bring out the best in them at work and on the field. Footy stuff's easy, tell them what to play, but no good be doing that if they don't have any confidence in themselves to do that. So building up their confidence in themselves to make them understand that, the plays that you do aren't selfish, they're for a team. So get them into that teamwork mind frame where, whatever they do is for the benefit of the team, not themselves, no individuals. So, mate, it's been great. I had the best time with these guys this year.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, I definitely loved them in the processes of, starting talks. We're doing that down the future of an NRL coaching position. So, yeah. Excellent.
Well, we might see you at an NRL club, sometime soon, and maybe the Indigenous All-Stars coach one day. Who knows? But Marco, it's been an absolute pleasure. I just want to, thank you for your time coming on the show today. I've got a few gifts for you to pass on. Okay, so we're an International Rugby League themed show. So I've got a Lay Snacks polo shirt. So you can maybe pass on to one of the boys at Katingal or whatever you want to do with it. So you've got a polo there from Lay, and we've also got a hat there for you.
Thank you.
And thought I'd get you a couple of Immortal Pale Ales to enjoy, after a hard day at...
hard day mowing the yard.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know. Well, thank you for your time. I really do, and I really appreciate the gifts you give me, mate. I really do. Thank you so much.
And Macca, you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and you're a superstar of our game. And thanks again.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much.